first thing we're going to talk about is what you guys talked about last week. You guys have a homework assignment about looking for questionable moments in your life or in your day. Questionable moments being those times when someone may ask you why you live the way you do. And maybe not even just this past week. Have you ever had that experience where somebody would ask you why you live the way you do? Sign in. Sign in. We need to know you're here. Any questionable moments?
I'm probably gonna have to leave. I didn't know this guy was here.
Sorry. Hey.
Oh, you're out here for a age. Y'all doing okay tonight? You're bad for ages, you know that. I'm there, but. What do we do now?
You check March 17th by your name and you're good. You get credit for this class. So we're asking about the homework from last week about having questionable moments, times when maybe somebody would question you about why you live the way you do, about your faith, about maybe why you don't do certain things, why you do certain things. I remember growing up, a buddy of mine in church, we grew up together going to the same church. And I remember him telling me, we were in high school, and him saying that he has made a decision that he's going to go ahead and after high school, he's going to join the army. He's going to, go tour the world and basically just live it up and sow his oats. And then when he gets older, that's when he's going to start taking church and what he was taught growing up more seriously. His whole idea was he wants to have fun with his life first. And I remember that came up because I had told him at that same time, I'd made a decision. I was coming to Lubbock. I grew up in Indiana. I was coming to Lubbock to go to the AIM program at Sunset. He called me stupid, crazy, was just shocked that right after I graduated high school, I was going to move to another state to go to a school to learn how to preach. And he just could not understand that. I remember another story that my brother told, and this is when my brother was an AIM student, talked about these questionable moments. They were in a laundry room. They were at a laundromat. The entire room was full of washers and dryers. And he and his buddies, they were AIM students, so they were at Sunset studying, but doing their laundry. And it was late one evening. And there was a lady over off to the side doing her laundry. She didn't have shoes on. She looked a little bit kind of dirty. And they're doing their Bible study together. And one of the assignments my brother had is kind of like what this class is about. Becoming a natural sharing Jesus. So he had an assignment. They all had the assignment. He hadn't done his yet. To go and invite somebody he didn't know to worship service. And he looked at her because his buddies were like, go ask her. Invite you. You haven't done your assignment yet. You can go do it. Right there's somebody. Nobody's around. You can go ask her. If she says yes, great. If she says no, he looked at her and decided she doesn't have shoes on. She's kind of dirty. She's not going to be interested in this. And so he made a decision to not ask her. And so he and his buddies, they kept doing their little Bible study. Finally, she came over to them and asked them what they were doing. And they told her they were doing a Bible study, and she talked about how she was interested in learning some more. And so one of the other guys invited her to worship, and they were able to study with her. So that's kind of the opposite, I think, of what your assignment was. But here was a questionable moment when she did question why they were studying, and she was interested in getting to know it. But when we talk about becoming a natural sharing Jesus, what did he do? He made a judgment before he'd even said a single word to that lady. that she was gonna say no, that she was gonna turn him down, that I don't wanna use the phrase wasn't worth it, because there's not anybody that fits that category. But at that point in time, that's the way he felt. And so he chose not to say anything to her. How many times do we get put in those questionable moments when we kind of feel a tug, maybe I should say something to Jonathan, but I don't know. Jonathan looks at me kind of weird, so I don't know if I want to talk to him. And so now I may just ignore him and not share my faith, or not even offer any type of invitation. You know, the Bible class last Sunday was entitled Follow Me. And in John chapter 1, when Andrew and the other disciple, John, went to Jesus, and they said, where are you staying? What was his response? Come. There's an invitation. And so that's where we're going to be going with it. Well, that's where Dewey's going to be going with these classes. And I've got the first habit. Dewey's going to be talking about different habits that we can develop to help us become natural to sharing Jesus. And so the first habit, I want to start in Genesis chapter 12 and just read verses 2 and 3.
Mike, before you get going, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure. I had a gentleman approach me Sunday, and he has been approached by several people on how to, that they want to be part of Christ's, the body of Christ. And they're looking for salvation. What do they need to do? And he's like, do they offer a class here that touches that? And I may be jumping the gun, but it looks like that's where you guys are headed. Maybe not.
This isn't a class on, it sounds like what they're looking for is a study.
Yeah.
If they want to learn.
Now, he wants to learn how to disciple.
Oh, he wants to learn how to disciple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what this class is.
Yeah, and I said,
Or kind of an introduction to it.
yeah, that's what I don't know if we're having anything right now, but I'll look into it. But that may be, and you may know him, I can't remember his name right now. His last name is Virginia. And they are from maybe Wilson, they're Bruce and Fiona's friends.
Okay.
Somewhere up there in that area. Maybe even La Mesa, or I don't know. Anyway, he was looking, older gentleman, and he was looking for one of those classes.
Okay.
And I don't know.
And I could also reckon we've got some resources on the Green Lawn website that have some studies that you could kind of self-study. But yeah, introducing to me, and I'll be happy to spend some time with you.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, you're good. No, questions are great. I just wanted to start with this. It's not actually a part of the notes, but it's Genesis 12, verses 2 and 3. It's the first call that Abraham receives. Technically, it might be the second call, but the first one that we get in Genesis. In chapter 12, it says, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. And I picked that passage, especially because of that last phrase. Abraham is being told, yep, I'm going to bless your seed. I'm going to make you a great nation. And the entire world, all those nations, all the Gentiles are going to be blessed through you. Are we children of Abraham? The answer is yes. So one of the first habit that we want to talk about, what we're going to talk about tonight, is just being a blessing. And so your assignment this week, I'll repeat it at the end of class, but I'll tell you right up front. Your assignment this week is to be a blessing, to bless at least 3 people, one of whom, at least, is not a member of this congregation. But if you want to bless a few members of the congregation, that's great, but find somebody, at least one person that is not. And so when you think about that phrase, to bless, we want you to bless somebody. What does that mean?
It has different meanings. I mean, this morning I had different little areas to go and pick up stuff for the Blessing Center. And we were way out there on 79th Street somewhere and picking up a recliner that somebody donated. And, you know, it's an older lady. And Chris was with me, my son, and I said, you know, when we finally left there, I said, one thing you have to know about older folks, they like to talk and talk because they're so lonely, you know, and I don't know when was the last time they had some company. I just like to sit there and listen. But I did something different this time, and it's something I should have been doing all along, is praying over it.
Mm.
And boy, when we were walking away, it says, hey, you have blessed me tremendously today. That prayer has done a lot for me. And I looked at her like, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was.
For them, it was.
It was, and it should have been for me too, you know. It should have been for me too. You know, but I could tell that she'd been kind of hungry for conversation, you know, and spending time with somebody who would actually look at her or listen to her. And I thought, you know, if I pray for you, and that little simple prayer, whatever, you know, I don't even remember what I was saying, but she was, man, that just hit my heart today.
You've hit upon a great one, because oftentimes what we'll do is we'll say, oh yeah, I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
And that's time we don't, because we walk away and then we forget. But how cool is it to do exactly what you did? You have a need, I'll pray for you right now. Let's just do it. And huddle up with them, 2 or 3 together. I mean, that's a great way to bless people.
But that was a big blessing for her, and I didn't.
It didn't cost you anything.
No, I mean, you know, and you know, I like to bless people, but maybe taking them out to eat.
Right.
Before it's going wrong. But you know, and it's not always about money, you know.
It's not always about money. Sometimes it's just about spending time, a few words. You have to talk to God on her behalf in her presence. And how did that make her feel?
Well, she was just blown away.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. So for her, you were Jesus today. And you shared Jesus with her just by spending your time with her and taking her before the Father. Going back to that word bless, and you're right, because there's several different meanings. I mean, one of the first things I think of when I hear the word bless is I think of the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. A little bit different connotation than what we're talking about this evening. You know, I've seen things, and some of you maybe have heard me say this before already, because it just bothers me. You know, when COVID hit, I'd get on Facebook and somebody would say something like, if you haven't been sick since all this started, man, God is really blessing you. Type amen. And I sat there and thought, well, so if you had been sick, that means God's not blessing you. Is that what that means? And of course, we know that's not true. Was Job a blessed man? Absolutely, he was. And his response there at the beginning, you know, naked I came, naked I'll leave. I didn't bring anything into this world. I can't take anything out. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. See, we're blessed not because we didn't lose electricity during the snowstorm, or not because we didn't get sick. We're blessed because of a relationship we have with the Father. And that's where we're getting into the Beatitudes. To steer our minds tonight, though, it's more about, because you got blessings, you got religious rites where they give you blessings, where the idea is instilling the spirit on you or something like that. But oftentimes it can also just mean to speak well of, to praise. And it may have to do with conferring prosperity on somebody or happiness. It may be taking somebody out to eat. It may be getting somebody a brand new refrigerator when they need it. John,
I did somebody last night. I went out walking. If you go for we got
yeah,
last night, I went out. I talked to people I don't know, and hi, how you week going? He said, I'm doing good. We fought me.
well, that's good.
I say, oh, him.
And that's what we're talking about here. And one of the definitions out of the book had to do with strengthening another's arm. So think about when when the Israelites were fighting, oh, was it the Amalekites? Maybe the Moabites, it's one of those ites that they were fighting. And Moses, as long as he held the staff up, what happened? They're winning. But after you do this for a while, you get kind of tired. And so you had Aaron, and I want to say her, but I don't know if that's right. Maybe Joshua. Let's go with Joshua. Hold his arms up. They're supporting his arm. They're giving strength. They're blessing him by holding him up. And that's kind of the idea here, is building somebody up, helping them to relieve their burdens, helping them to breathe a little bit easier, to lift their spirits, to alleviate their distress. There's one definition that I read. It says that a word of encouragement is like oxygen to the soul. And so think about that. Words of affirmation help our souls to breathe more easily. And that's the first one. If I was writing these down, there's 3 areas that we're going to talk about tonight. Words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts. But even just words, like what Sante did today, didn't cost him anything, but just spending time listening, talking, going to the Father. We have a thing here at Greenlawn that I really like. They're called encouragement cards. And these are a couple that I've just gotten within the last couple of weeks. And then, of course, if you're really cool, then you get Sonia Mitchell to make you a really nice one. And so, but you know how nice these are? How cool is it when you get one of these in the mail? I mean, I love that we don't use email for these. Because we get so many emails now that it's just not the same.
No, all email you junk mail.
Yeah, it's all done. But how many times you go out to the mailbox and even then you get junk mail? But then when you see something handwritten and it's specifically to you and you open it up and it's a good brother or sister from Greenlawn just saying how much they appreciate you. And you don't even have to be a gifted writer. One time I wrote Dale an encouragement card, and the only thing I wrote on it was Philemon 7.
Just put them in that
That
bag.
was it. And then he sent me an email later in the week when he received it, letting me know how much he appreciated it. So by now you're wondering what Philemon 7 says. It simply says, your love has given me great joy and encouragement because you, brother, have refreshed the hearts of the saints. I didn't have to come up with some witty words or anything. I just went to scripture and shared it with my brother, and it was an encouragement to him. And so
It's funny because in our secrets class on Sunday mornings, we have those. And frequently I tell the folks that are in there, I mean, we'll cut these up and throw them away. If we're not using them,
if we're not using them,
but you're absolutely right. It's so powerful when I received one, and it's simple wording. I had one from a little bitty girl. I'm assuming she's 4 or 5 Sunday. And I mean, she drew some little ducks, I think, or birds. I'm not sure what it was, but really doesn't matter. You know, it was the time that she put into it. And then her little note, she didn't even spell my name right, which is okay. You know, but she took time out to write me her little version of an encouragement note. And then I'm assuming her grandma helped her today. She put it in an envelope and mailed it to me. And I thought, man, that's the best, you know.
yeah,
But
even just draw a little picture.
you're absolutely right. You don't need to be whatever, you know.
You don't have to be Shakespeare with your words.
I like what you wrote.
It could be something simply as, Jimmy, I was thinking of you, said a prayer, I'm just hypothetical.
Oh, okay.
Said a prayer for you. Hope you have a good day.
Yeah.
Love you, brother. It doesn't have to be profound. It's just this idea that somebody is thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one way of blessing.
About every week, they'll let me a cookie note, but about every time
Yeah,
open my mailbox, I can
that's cool.
get what we want. Only more people do that at will. Other people don't do that at will.
I try to write at least one a week because 2 or 3 years ago, Dell did a sermon first Sunday of January where he's talking about what can we do in this new year? And he challenged everybody to write one encouragement card a week for that year. And so I decided I could do that. And so I did. And there's been some times when I've missed, but then I'll come back and I'll write 2 or 3. And I've enjoyed it because every now and then I'll write one, and it may be 2 or 3 weeks. I wrote one to somebody who said that they have this habit of when they get mail, they set it on their nightstand. And so it took them like 2 weeks before they finally decided to go through the mail. And then they saw it. So I'd forgotten I'd even written it. Because it'd been like 3 weeks now. And they came up to me in the foyer and just talked about how they received that at just the right time. Now, you know, maybe had they opened it right when they got it, it wouldn't have had as much of an effect. But because of things going on in their life, they opened up, thinking about you, praying for you, love you, brother. It really, really touched them. And they told me about it. I don't write those so that you guys will come tell me good job, appreciate that. But it does happen sometimes. And that encouragement gets, that blessing ends up bouncing back and blesses me too.
It helps. It helps when people take time out to write encouragement notes or something, and I keep them in my little head. And then whenever I see them, that's a little spots. You know, I really appreciate. I needed just a little uplift that particular time, or moment, or day, or whatever. You know, it helps, and it blesses them at the same time.
Absolutely. And I've had more than one people like even these that I received a few weeks ago. I don't throw these away. Because these are precious to me. I hang on to them. I hang on to them. I almost brought it. I've got a stack in my desk drawer, probably about that thick. Because every time I get one, I keep it. So I've got some with pictures and some about this. And I'll write you one. I know.
I do like the one for Julia,
You know, I remember when Katya and I got married, we used to write each other little notes and hide them in the house. You know, just things like that. It's just fun when you find them, when you get that encouragement. And that's why I hang on to these, because if there's ever a day when I'm feeling bad and I'm feeling like, you know, I went to teach class and nobody participated and I feel like a real bum, I can go back and read what other people thought about me teaching or something like that and get encouragement.
Yeah.
The second area is acts of kindness. You can bless somebody by doing them a favor, fixing something for them. We've done things where we've had our class. I'm a part of the faith followers class if I'm not teaching. And we've gone into people's backyards before and cleaned up their backyards. We've gone to the Blessing Center to volunteer, which the Blessing Center needs volunteers to sort through clothes. So whoever's watching, tell your classes. And you guys. I've seen half you guys in the Blessing Center already. Just a variety of things we could do to just provide practical support. Cutting an old lady's, an older woman's lawn. And as I was reading through this, or going through this class, I'm also reading through the Bible with my family in a year, and we're in the middle of Deuteronomy. And last night, we're reading Deuteronomy, and we got to chapter 24, and I'm going to focus on verse 13, but I'm going to go ahead and start in verse 10 just to get the context of it. Moses is giving laws to the people. And in Deuteronomy 24, starting in verse 10, he says, when you make a loan of any kind to your neighbor, do not go into his house to get what he is offering in as a pledge. Stay outside and let the man to whom you are making the loan bring the pledge out to you. If the man is poor, do not go to sleep with his pledge still in your possession. Now here's verse 13. Return his cloak to him by sunset, so that he may sleep in it. Then he will thank you, and it will be regarded as a righteous act in the sight of the Lord your God. What is he saying there? It will be a blessing. Here is somebody who's poor. They need help. For whatever reason, you're able to help them, and you took their coat as pledge. That's what they offered up. But that coat also serves as their blanket. And so he's saying at nighttime, even though they haven't paid you back yet, you return that. And what are they going to think about you? And of course, that's not why you do this, but they will thank God for you. And it will be a blessing for them. And several times going through Deuteronomy, and we'll see it even in the New Testament, how many times were the Israelites told to always do something to help the alien, the foreigners, the fatherless, the widows? There's a widow at the children's home where I work, and for the last 4 or 5 years now, I've done her taxes. And it doesn't bother me to do them, and I do them for free because I can, because it's simple. And I do it mainly because she's a widow. I want to do whatever I can to help her when I can, because I think that's something that glorifies God. And so that's one of those areas that we could start focusing on. Especially, it's one thing, I can go help my best friend, because I know if I ever need it, he's going to come help me. If Santi needs help, he knows I'll come over and help him, because I know that if I need help, Santi will come over and help me. Hypothetically, again, this is a hypothetical concept. But what about helping somebody that can't return the favor? I mean, that's what Jesus is getting at in the Sermon on the Mount. When we help only those that can turn around and help us, that's exactly what the pagans do. Are we not called to be better than that? To have better morals, better standard? And then the third one goes into gifts. And even gifts don't necessarily have to be a big financial burden to you, or it costs you a lot. Sometimes it may be, but it's just the idea of showing that I care, I was thinking about you. Especially if it's not a gift given to them on their birthday or at Christmas. If it's more of a random type of gift given. And it could be anything from, I remember when my brother was doing mission work in Russia and I went over there, I brought Dr. Pepper. Because at that time you couldn't get Dr. Pepper over there. I know that my niece and my nephew have done, well, my niece is still in Honduras. My nephew is in Guatemala. One of the things their parents took to them when they were down there was like the hot fried Cheetos or whatever, the really spicy ones, because they couldn't get them down there. And it was something, you would have thought those kids were getting like $100 bill. How excited they were over a 79-cent bag of chips. But it was something from home, something they really enjoyed. And so it doesn't have to be a fabulous, fantastic, expensive gift. Just something to let people know you're thinking of them. I know Janet, Paul Hill's wife in England, she has a habit of making homemade gifts. She's given them to me, she's given them to Katya, she's given them to Sonia, she's given them to Katrina. And how neat is that? When I went to the orphanage, one of the times I went to Russia and did some stuff, we went to an orphanage, and I had one of the kids give me a little stuffed bunny rabbit that they had made themselves. And I kept that for the longest time, because that is just a cool thing, especially when it's something you've made for yourself. And again, we get told in here about helping the alien and the fatherless and the widows. And then there was this interesting study that came up. One of these church research groups did a study, and they called it blessers versus converters. And so what they did was they sent 2 groups into Thailand. And they went into Thailand to do mission work. And one group, their job was to focus specifically on converting the Thai people to Christianity. You go, you try to have as many studies as you can, see how many people you can convert. The other group, their job was just to go out and to bless people. Not blessing, hoping they'll get a study. I mean, that's kind of an ulterior motive, and we don't want to do it like that. They're just blessing to bless, to help. And what they found at the end of their research period was that the blessers had a lot more relationships, a lot more contacts, a lot more people that trusted them. and developed a good relationship with them. And then they found out that the blessers had also ended up inadvertently converting more people and bringing more people back to Christ than those who were focused just on converting. And so there's something to be said about blessing. There's an old saying that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so taking care of their needs. But then we've also got some warnings. There's a few words of caution about blessing. And one of them is just what we were talking about. Be careful that we're not being generous, that we're not just blessing people in the hopes that they're going to study with us so I can get another conversion. Because then that's not genuinely, you don't have the attitude of blessing. You have an ulterior way of trying to get around to a Bible study. Now you can bless and ask if they want to have a study, but don't make it your end all. We're called to bless in order to bless. And so part of that, another word of caution is it means that the recipient must feel blessed. There have been times, I'll use the gift as the illustration. There have been times when I've given somebody a gift and they were shocked and it wasn't a good shock. It was an offended shock. It's like, why do you think I need this? I don't want that. And so when you're given something, make sure that the person receiving it really does take it as a blessing. To add strength to their arm, to hold their arms up. We got passage in Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but rather in humility consider others better than yourselves. Look for the interest of others, not your own. And so, become a student of who you bless. Know what they like. Know what their needs are. You remember there's this old story. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but the girl had really long hair and the guy had a really nice watch. And so he sells this watch to get her a brush for her hair, but she cuts her hair to get him a nice chain for his watch. Make sure you know what they need and that you're not giving them something that's going to end up being useless or not even used at all because they don't need it. But here's another question. Because I talked about making sure you know who you bless, make sure you know what their need is, make sure that they really do feel blessed. Can a blessing be bad? Turn to Proverbs 27, because the answer is yes, it can be. And I'm going to go to Proverbs 27 with a little tongue in cheek. But when I was at Sunset, we had a brother. So we had chapel every morning at 8:25. And so, a lot of people are, if they have chapel at 8:25, they're waking up at 8 o'clock. If that early, to get ready and get to chapel on time. But there's this one brother, he loved mornings. And he would come in really loudly. It was like, Santi, good to see you. How you doing this morning? And it was driving people crazy. And so you got Proverbs 27, verse 14. Proverbs 27, verse 14. If a man loudly blesses his neighbor early in the morning, it will be taken as a curse. That's actually the first time I learned that passage was after a while with this guy, people started kind of get bothered by him. But there's another thing that we have to consider. I don't know you, I know you guys in here, but I don't know how well do you receive blessings?
I don't like for people to bless me. I love to bless people. And Billy Smith, a good example, comes to my mind right now. He bought 11 acres out on the north side of town. And between me and him, we basically built his house. And when he was done one night, he said, Something, me and Miss Gay won't talk to you, Miss Joseph. And I'm always thinking, oh no, what I do wrong. And, they said they wanted to bless us with 2 acres of their own land and help us build our house. That's what he know. And then I went to work the next day, and one of my silly guys really opened my eyes. He said, dude, he was trying to bless you.
Yeah.
He was trying to bless you, and you didn't even allow him to bless you. But, you know, giving a blessing to others is what I like to do best. I hate for people to. And one of the ladies, Miss Cindy Alexander, told me one day. She said, Sandy, it's okay to be blessed. It's okay. You know? But it's been hard.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because that's the way we feel. I would love to bless you, but don't you dare try to bless me.
Yeah.
And if you do bless me, I'm gonna feel obligated. When again, a blessing should never make me feel obligated to turn around and do it for you, because then it's not a blessing. But we get that way.
Sometimes we think, like me and Josie, for example, we get around Christmas and I say, what do you want for Christmas? I've got everything I need. And then I feel the same way, and I said, well, let's make sure we bless the kids with something. But, you know, and we just feel that I don't need anything. Go bless somebody else, you know, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I am content, or, you know, whatever. And it may be something real simple, but it might have been a struggle for that person to put that real simple gift together for you.
And what we do sometimes, because I've had those conversations, we keep somebody from blessing God and being used by God because we refuse to accept their blessings of us. You know, this class, becoming a natural sharing Jesus, we want to share Jesus, but don't you dare try and do it to me, is almost what we say. When why don't I want the Smiths to feel like they're able to bless us?
What
John.
last night, we went to fight back, I hate it. But, we do that probably in last year. One people walk up to me giving $40 back.
Yeah.
I think, what I do? Oh my God, he told me what I do with the money. People give me money, I don't know who they are.
Well, but they're just trying to bless you to help you pay your bills or whatever you buy some food.
Yeah, I say that night I said him, thank you, give me that money, thank you my God. God bless you.
Yeah.
They
That's right.
said that. You're welcome.
Okay. One more word of caution. Because when you do bless somebody, they may not always take it as a blessing. Not just, you know, the blessing somebody loudly in the morning, they'll take it as a curse. But when I was preaching up in Wisconsin, I was in Webster, Wisconsin, 6 miles south of us. The towns are every 6 miles because of the railroad tracks. 6 miles south of us was Siren, Wisconsin. Back in 2002, 2001, they had a tornado come through their town. Churches of Christ Disaster Relief out of Nashville, Tennessee got a hold of me. We were the closest church, and so they coordinated with me. They sent us refrigerators and stoves, washers, dryers, sofas, beds, dressers, food. They sent us all kinds of stuff. And we just started blessing people with it. But there was this one lady, I'd set up to get her a new washer and dryer and something else. There was 3 items. I can't remember what the other one was. There's this little application, and it's not an application. It's just kind of a little form that they have to fill out because it's how the organization in Tennessee keeps track of everything. We're not going to use that information for anything. We're not going to judge them based on anything they write. But one of the questions asked about what's your annual income? It's a common question on a lot of forums. She got so upset with me. I'm there with a truck. I have a washer and dryer and whatever else in the back of this truck ready to take into her house. I just need her to fill out that form. And she's all upset that I'm making her fill out this form because it's asking this question. And I'm telling her it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you put down there. I'm bringing this into your house. I'm giving this to you. No strings attached. This is just for documentation purposes. I have to send it back so that they can know that we did what we said we were going to do. And maybe they get reimbursement for it. I don't know how it all works. And finally, she put down a number. I didn't even look at it. I put it in my folder and we carried this stuff in. But it was interesting to me how sometimes when we are trying to bless somebody, even then they're still questioning us. And, you know, we shouldn't be surprised because Jesus told us in Matthew chapter 5, verse 11, blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you falsely, and say all kinds of evil against you because of me. So we're out there trying to do good and still get people upset with us. And so there's some ways you can bless people this week. Just with your words, encouragement, praying with them, acts of service, doing something for them, something that can help them, something that can bless them, something maybe that they can't do themselves, like take care of their backyard. I came home a little bit early from work today. You know why? There was wind today in Lubbock, and my fence, part of my fence fell down. And I was able to get out there and fix it. But what if that would have been Roger Dykes? Is he going to get out there and fix it?
No.
He doesn't even stand up when I walk in the room. I mean, okay, never mind. Bad joke. And so there may be people that have those types of needs. So acts of service are a great way to bless somebody. And then there's also this concept of gifts. But here's one insignificant gift that you can give. And I've actually received this gift before. And when I received it, it was a very huge blessing. Go to Matthew chapter 10. Matthew chapter 10. It's also found in Mark chapter 9. We're going to go ahead and look at the one in Matthew chapter 10. We'll start at verse 40. I'm going for 42. But for the whole context, we'll start at verse 40. He who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives the one who sent me. Anyone who receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And anyone who receives a righteous man because he is a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. Now here's the verse 42. And if anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones because he is my disciple, I tell you the truth, he will certainly not lose his reward. A cup of cold water, how much does that cost?
Nothing.
Me and a different friend, growing up in Columbus, Indiana. That's where I grew up in Brownstown, but went to church in Columbus. We decided to ride bikes from town to his house out in the country. Why? I don't know, because it was not the brightest thing we did. And in Indiana, it's not like Lubbock. We had hills, ups and downs. We got out in the country and we were just exhausted and hot. We actually went to a stranger's house, knocked on the door, and just asked if we could have a cup of water. And they graciously gave us a cup of water. And it tasted so good. They blessed us. And it didn't take that much. One more passage. We'll wrap it up after this passage. Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 19. A lot of people here know that I work at the children's home. I've also worked for the Texas Boys Ranch. This verse was first introduced to me in this context when I was working for the Texas Boys Ranch, and it's been just impressive to me ever since. And the question that was asked before we read the verse is there ever a time when God owes you? Does God owe you anything? And then we read Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 17. He who is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward him for what he has done. When we talk about taking care of the alien, the fatherless, the widow, the poor, you know what the Proverbs writer says, what Solomon says? That's like giving a loan to God. And God's going to make sure he's good on that. And just like Sante mentioned earlier, he left that lady's house today after praying for her, feeling as if he had been blessed. Because she had been blessed. And that's the neat thing about blessings. It's like that lucky penny. How's that song go? Love's like a lucky penny, give it away, you won't have any. I don't know how to tell you what, give it away, you'll have more yet. Okay, forget the song, I don't remember the song. The whole point is, when you start giving blessings to people, it starts ricocheting. And you start feeling better. Have you ever done it? Here's another one I didn't think about earlier to mention. You ever been going through a drive-through and then pay for the person's meal behind you, or their drink at Starbucks or whatever? I've done that a few times, and it's really fun to watch in the rearview mirror, because then you pull up to the second window to get your food, and when they find out, they start looking to see if they know who you are and stuff, and then you get your food and you get to drive away, and they have no clue who did it. It's just a wonderful feeling.
And if something nice for you, and can buy you food.
Well, yeah, but
Well, who are you?
I blessed them, and it made me feel better. Isn't that weird? I blessed somebody else, but it affected the way I felt. When I didn't even get a blessing. Oh, but I did. So, any final thoughts or questions as we wrap this up?
That was kind of neat, and it is a neat feeling. I was at someplace, and I had Eddie's two little monsters. I can't remember their names. But
Silas and Silas.
Yeah, we would take them out occasionally to a movie or something, and just take them out, and then we'll take them out to eat and make sure they got plenty of sweets, and then take them home. That was at a restaurant one time, and and that they also had a drive-through, and one of our sisters went through the drive-through. I want to say it's Brent Folger's mom, I can't remember her name. And so the lady, I got to the counter, and so when she was at the window, we were both there at the same time. So whatever they're getting, put it on my tab. And I didn't find out till this later. And said, "Sir, your meal's paid for." I said, what do you mean? I am paid for. That lady there paid for it. I looked over there and she just said, "Love you." And I'm like, oh man,
Isn't that great?
it was great people.
They can back you.
Yeah.
You do that, they back you back.
So don't forget your homework assignment this week. Go out and bless at least 3 people. One of whom, or 2 or 3, but at least one who is not a member of Greenlaw.
Morning.
Have a blessed week.